Since America with Eden Cornell. Yeah.
And good morning, Common Sense America. I'm Eden Hill. It is Friday. It is June the 2nd. We are in June. We are in the summer months, and I am sitting here right here in Chester County, Pennsylvania, this beautiful morning. It is a little hot. It's supposed to get up to about 90 degrees here in Chester County, Pennsylvania. But you know what? That hasn't stopped me from doing this show yet. So I am sitting here in my parents' home at their dining room table, and I am all set up and ready to bring you an amazing guest that will be joining us here in just a few minutes, Jade Simmons. She is a concert pianist. She is a book author. She is a TED speaker. She has performed at the White House and the Supreme Court. This woman is phenomenal, and she's also known as the Maverick for the classical piano circles. So Maverick will be joining us here in just a few moments. But I wanted to give you some show notes and what is ahead for all of next week here at Common Sense America. Since we are in the summer now, Memorial Day was last weekend, I'm going to be releasing my summer reads to you in the coming week. We have so many amazing book authors that have come to Common Sense America, and I'm going to be sharing with you the wealth of information that they have been giving to this show. Whether you watch Common Sense America now or you watch it later, we have an amazing group of authors. And so I want you guys to get ready for your summer beach reading, for your lounging in the sand reading, for your kicking up your feet and drinking a cup of iced tea reading. We're going to be giving you a lot of different great summer reads as we head into next week and summer reading. I love doing summer reading lists. They're so much fun. I'm going to be giving you children's books, also just fun fiction books, and then also those that are current events. So let's educate ourselves on what's ahead for the fall. Why not, right? And there's some other things we're going to be talking here at Common Sense America. Save the date. Every Friday through the summer, Lane Lawson Craft, who's a best-selling author. She was on the show. She's been all over the national news. She's been on CBN, 700 Club. She's been on the Duffy podcast with Fox News. She's been on Fox News and Fox Business. She's an entrepreneur and a best-selling author. We got our heads together and we said, why don't we do a Friday kitchen table conversation? So we're going to be kicking back a little bit with our cups of coffee or our sweet tea, and we're going to be doing a very laid back Friday morning kitchen table conversation, all topics on the table. And I'm so excited to bring that to you for this summer. Also, we are going to be doing a Pride in America theme through the whole summer. You know, we kicked off with Memorial Day. We have July 4th. We have Veterans Day. We have all of these at Flag Day, Armed Forces Day. We have all of these patriotic holidays. And I sat back for a second and said, we have all of these other holidays that are dividing a lot of this nation. And I looked at the data to see where the patriotism was. The patriotism ticker was for this nation, and it's at an all-time low. So I said, let's do it. Let's bring back Pride in America. Pride in America. There is nothing wrong with that. We're coming from all walks of life. If we know who our identity is and who our creator is, then we can jump on board and say, my pride is in this country, the United States of America. Because you know what, you guys? We came here. My great-grandparents came here for freedom. They left a war-torn country and came here. My grandfathers served for our freedom. My father-in-law served for our freedom. And my husband served for our freedom. So why don't we do Pride in America? I love this country. It's amazing. We have so many grateful things to be thankful for. We got food on our table. We got a roof over our head. We have the freedom of religion, the freedom of the press, freedom of speech. So this summer, Share with me your apple pie recipes. Tell me about your parades in your backyard. Talk to me about what is your favorite aspect of living in the land of the free and the home of the brave. We are going to do Pride in America this whole summer. I am so excited to bring stories of Pride in America to you. We kind of kicked it off all last week with all of our Vietnam veterans and all of those who have served this nation. So we're going to continue that storyline. We need to come back together as a community. We need to, no matter where we've come from, what journey we are on, if we are still trying to figure out where we fit in all of this, well, you know what? Let's come together. Let's be excited for the journey that we've been given. Let's be excited for the service and the conviction and being in the public square. Whether you're a mama mia, getting food on the table, taking care of those kids, making sure they get on the bus, you're a single father, making ends meet, you're grandparents now, guardians of your children. Let's come together, let's lift one another up, and let's be so proud to live in this great land. So, two more things before I bring over Maverick. I love that name because I'm such a fan of Top Gun, and I wish I could have been a fighter pilot. I'm really dating myself. But before I bring over Jade, two more things. Two new books we're going to be seeing next week. One is by a 12-year-old. He's a jokester, and he put together a book called You're Joking Me. I'm so excited. He's going to be joining our show next Wednesday. And then also, I have a doctor based out of Maryland, right outside the DC Beltway, and he's going to be talking to us about Nobody Wants You Healthy. Interesting. We're going to go in a deep dive with him as well. But for now, we're going to talk about purpose, identity, our culture, our social media, and this phenomenal classical pianist who brings it all together for us. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Eden. Thank you for having me.
It's so nice to finally meet you. I know that we've been playing so many different schedule tags, and what a blessing to finally get to meet you. And first of all, let me say this. We have Michelle Rigby Assad in common.
Wow, that's right. Someone did tell me that. That's so cool. She's one of my new favorite people.
Well, she's been a favorite person of mine. She actually helped me kick off my show. She was my very first guest 7 months ago as I was kicking off Common Sense America. And we have been friends for a very long time. She hired me to do her breaking cover book when it first came out. And I have just been #1 fan on her list ever since. And so how did you guys meet? I have to bring that up.
Yeah, we're both keynote speakers, and so we always known of each other. We work with some of the same speaker bureaus, and then I interviewed her as well after reading her book for my own kind of online show. And I joke with her, I am like such a fangirl of all things spy and James Bond and CIA. So getting to meet her was pretty much like meeting a celebrity. Just to hear the life she's lived, and as a person of faith, as a Christian, to hear how her purpose and her faith has played such a pivotal role in her life back then, and of course still now. So I collect people, Eden. So as soon as I met her, I knew she was going in the curio show for sure.
I love it. Well, I love how she talks about getting off the X, and the time period that she was over in the Middle East was the same time period my husband was over there serving. And so their stories are very similar. And when I was reading her part about being overseas, and I was reading it to him, he said, yeah, that's exactly the same time period and the exact same method to the madness that was happening over there. So anyway, I want to dive into the purpose, but let's link it to getting off that X, because so many of us in our careers and searching for our identities and the midlife crisis piece. I want to highlight that as well. And I was looking at your books, Audacious Prayers, and I was looking at your remix of Purpose. And I sat there and thought about it. So many, if you look around the world, so many people are dealing with mental health issues. They're dealing with understanding where they fit in society. They are trying to understand what's next for them. So many different crossroads people are coming to. And I can't help but think that people are still reeling in what happened to us a couple years ago and trying to overcome that and trying to see their new path ahead. So from a faith perspective, and this show is all about God, it's all about our faith. Let's talk about your the remix of Purpose. Let's kind of talk about the deep dive of what got you there, and were there personal pieces to you on your journey that had you come to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think the initial starting point, when you talk about getting off of an ex,
Yes,
me, it's a little bit different maybe than other people's ex. I'm an extremely achievement-driven person.
no kidding. I saw that.
like probably many of your listeners are. And so my entire first half of my life was always about how can you win? How can you be the best? And, training to be a classical concert pianist was no easy feat. We spent a lot of our time in practice rooms by ourselves, 8-10 hours a day, practicing all the classics, Mozart, Beethoven, Rachmaninoff. So my original dream was to be a classical concert pianist. And I'm blessed that I have lived that dream. I still get to live it whenever I want, which is a rarity. But I'll tell you that at the beginning, X for me looked like checking off all the things that were on my to-do list. And I had made it, right? I mean, before I was 30, I was on the X I wanted to be on, having the time of my life. And then I had this sudden illogical bout of stage fright. I've been playing since I was a little girl. Didn't make any sense. I was having memory slips, just a really weird period in the beginning of my career. And in order to get through that slump, I would give myself a break by telling stories in between the music. And long story, very short. If you Google this, you can find the whole story somewhere. And I write about it in the book as well.
Okay.
I started telling those stories, and the stories took on a life of their own. People started going, oh my gosh, I love the Chopin, but that story you told. And can I be honest, Eden, I was offended. I'm like, listen, I am playing my heart out on this piano. I need you to focus on being impressed on how awesome I am. And we can sometimes think that purpose is linked to the thing we're doing. I thought my purpose was to play the piano. The remix came when I started understanding people were having all these other reactions that were coming from what was happening in between the notes. And so I started to understand people were saying, Jade, we came for one thing, but we were impacted by so much more. You talk about COVID, the silver lining of COVID. Not all employers will feel this way, but we can tell you our employees need more than they needed before COVID hit. Our relationships seem to need more than they needed before. And it can feel like a burden. But I'll tell you, there is a blessing in people showing up and wanting more than they thought they needed.
Yes.
And even as a concert pianist, as I was telling stories, I got bolder, started switching genres, starting having overt inspiration and interactivity, completely changed the trajectory of my career. And what I understood is that there was something powerful happening in the audience that wasn't really about the Chopin or the Mozart. And so now I say your purpose is not the thing you do. It's the thing that happens in others when you do what you do. And when you talk about faith, right, where we understand that God has put us here, not just for a purpose,
yes,
but his purpose. And so even as a classical concert pianist, I was now having this impact that was going beyond the music, beyond the classical stage. Again, in a nutshell, that speaking opened up an entirely new career. Today, my company is actually known for, I go into Fortune 100 companies. A piano is with me, but I'm brought in to speak on leadership, innovation, change mastery, reinvention. And this is not where the concert pianist, I thought my only realm of influence would be a concert hall for people who love classical music. Today, I'm able to influence well beyond that demographic. I'll tell you, purpose, we hear it in the Bible, right? Our gift will make room for us.
Yes.
But the truth is, when you pair that gift with purpose, it makes room for you in unexpected spaces. And that is what makes, that purpose is what is breaking out in the people that you get to serve when you do what you do. So Eden, what I'll end by saying is that means that Eden's purpose is not to host a podcast. It's what happens in her listeners specifically because she is the host. That's the reason.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I absolutely love it because I was watching some of your TED Talks and I saw the beauty of what you were sharing with your audience. But I want to highlight one that really struck me. I know it was from a couple years ago. You were up on stage. You had two young individuals playing on the piano. Yeah. Can you talk to that story? Because you talk about leadership, but you talk about where a leader comes in and where the blend comes together to make something beautiful.
Yeah, you know what's been so incredibly humbling is that an openly professing Christian like myself is welcomed into, you know, what people would say is a secular space or the corporate world. And kind of the deal that I made with God is, you know, I was like, God, should I, because I'm also an ordained minister. That didn't happen until much later in life. And I always used to struggle when I was younger. Should I be a preacher, a pastor, or is this concert pianist thing okay? You know, sometimes we as people of faith think we have to make, you know, if we don't have a collar on, we're not ministering. And my pulpit just looks different. My platform looks different. And the deal that God made with me, he said, Jade, they don't bring me in, but they bring you in and I go wherever you go.
Oh,
so
I love it.
Wherever I go. And what I noticed, you know, started to happen when I was in these spaces is that people needed to break the wall between the performer, the keynote speaker, and what was happening in them, or else I'm just back to performing. It's all about me, and the applause sounds like, oh my God, she was awesome. But the moment you're talking about, I do on every stage with every age, every demographic. And what happens is it's after about 40 minutes of them watching me perform and hearing me speak. And I flip the script. Because we have to be shaken out of our comfort zones. It's not enough for me to tell you, Eden, get out of your comfort zone. I got to put you on the spot for two reasons. One, so that you're jarred into having to react. Second, so that we are now burning in a searing memory of how you rose to the occasion unexpectedly. So I will go in the audience, scare a lot of people.
Do you?
Oh, God, you should see the way they try to avoid eye contact.
Oh my gosh.
I always say breakthrough could care less whether or not you make eye contact with it. You know, it's going to pick you anyway. Two people come on stage. Sometimes they're musicians or people who used to play. Most of the time, they've never touched a piano. And we make music in real time. And the leadership lesson there, especially since COVID, we've got to move beyond what I call bottom line leadership, just focused on how much money we're going to make, what's this quarter going to look like. And we have to upgrade to purpose-based leadership, which is I've been gifted this team for a temporary time.
Yes.
How much purpose can I unleash in them, which lo and behold, actually affects our bottom line. When people are feeling purposeful at work, they work differently. So that example shows people kind of rising to the occasion. It also shows that we have talents we have yet to unlock. And it also shows that we as leaders, because I don't sit down at the piano right away. I let them sweat it out for a little bit. I give them a little spark. They sweat it out. And always, 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 they find their groove. They get on the same beat. And me as the purpose-based leader, I don't jump in until they've gotten comfortable being who they're called to be. And then when I come in, my job is to make it just a little bit groovier, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was a powerful example.
No, that it was so powerful because I was sitting there watching it, and separate from having this podcast, I lead teams. I run my media business, and I'm constantly engaging and interfacing and building those bridges and keeping those bridges very strong within the realm of what I do is so very important. And another thing that really struck my heart and my convictions is getting behind that momentum. You talk about the momentum. And can you describe more of what that, how can we apply that momentum? Is it exercise? Is it more of a prayer? Is it a combination of things to build that momentum? What does that look like?
It's all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
There was a TED talk I was giving where I was talking about momentum. And we often talk about it as something that we have to go create and generate. Same with purpose. We got to go find it. We got to go discover it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe a lot of what we need is already in here and must be revealed, uncovered, unleashed. And momentum, even the scientific definition of it, it's the product of the mass that's within us, within an object. Yes. So when we think about our jobs here, it's to build critical mass. That is your talent, your giftings, your skill, your confidence level, your experience. It's why I say, we can go into spaces and be intimidated. They call it fraud factor. And usually you only feel that when you're really trying to be someone else or or do the job how someone else did it or how it's always been done. There's a confidence that comes when you realize nobody has a PhD other than me,
right?
Being Jade Simmons. They just don't. I have the highest terminal degree possible in being who I am. And I get to count my entire life as bona fide experience and expertise. And, in the book, Purpose the Remix, we talk about really taking ownership of that track record. And when you look back and you'll see a theme in your life. Eden will probably always see that you were activating leaders in a specific way, from your personal relationships to kiddos, to spouses, to employees, to team members. If we were to go back and interview them, and I encourage people to interview the people who love you and ask them things like, what happens when I come in the room? What happens when I enter the equation? Vulnerable questions. Why do you love me? Like, for real, because it's not always easy. So why do you love me? Those of us who have the girlfriends who come and tell us all their business at every hour of the night or the morning, ask them, why do you come to me? What is it you're expecting me to say that you're not expecting our other friend to say? Right. And you will hear a theme. That theme knocks right on the door of purpose. And I think that momentum is generated when we make those discoveries, and then don't just keep them as points of inspiration. Oh, I think I know now why I'm special. Okay, awesome. That's level 101. Now we get to try that thing out. For me, I thought it was playing the piano. I understood something was happening in people because of the way I played, because of the words I spoke or wrote or preached. And so I didn't have to pick one. I didn't have to pick one thing, but I did have to get clear on that one purpose. And then purpose gets to ride itself out. Talk about momentum in different vehicles. So that process of generating momentum comes from really mining what's inside of us and then intentionally recycling it into as many things that we do as possible.
Oh, so many pieces to pull through that. As you were describing, basically interviewing and why people come to you, why people come to me, I was sitting there thinking about that aspect. And the one thing that continues to run through my mind is I had run for State House last year, and Michelle was a huge supporter to that. And my campaign manager, who works with me on other projects, she always texts me. She's like, all right, loud Northerner, tell us what our role is today. Tell us what we are doing. And I didn't realize, but on all of my public speaking and all of the events I attended, they always left me for last to be the final speaker, the keynote speaker. And I was not when I was speaking to the crowds, saying to them not what they wanted to hear. And I was very loud, and I was being bold and courageous and standing up for my convictions. And we as women of influence, women of faith, this is our Esther moment to not be afraid of what everybody else is going to think, but we need to act on that Esther moment to stand up for what our convictions are and what God is leading us to do. So I sit there and kind of chuckle, I'm a loud Northerner in the background, but you know what? I'm really proud of that because I'm in a Southern world. Let me just preface, I live in Eastern North Carolina.
So that's so Eden. So because whoever's listening and watching, I want you to hear what's happening here. So if Eden were to go back now, and let's take that loud Northerner, standing up for her convictions, saying the hard thing, crunching a few toes. So I'm going to collect you, Eden, because I collect toe crunchers. Those are my people.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Gut punchers and toe crunchers.
This is fabulous.
If we were to look back now and go to personal relationships, they'd say, man, when I call Eden, I don't always want to hear what she says, but I know I need to. If we were to interview people, we would start to hear that theme. And then that last part you said, the mic drop, is you owned it instead of going, I'm in the South now, so I might need to pipe down. I might need to look like other Southerners. That is the instinct. It is a human instinct to want to fit in and be accepted. But the purpose instinct, the God-given instinct goes, I want you to own that standout status, because if you're the only Northerner in the room, there must be something from your background, from living up north, from the way you do things differently, that room must have. So I don't say should have, would be nice to have. I always say once you uncover purpose, there is a mandate now, right? You don't get to, sorry, Eden, she never gets to now go be the quiet person that blends in because she has her marching orders. There's a confidence that comes with that. And I'll tell you, when you run for office again, just prophesying a bit here, when you run for office again, because I believe this is a season, honestly, where God is raising up bold women to step in the gap politically, because they haven't been political. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like they're bringing So when you get to step in that gap again, I guarantee your leadership will be marked by saying the hard thing, speaking out. So it's like you get to have now this path. We always say, what should I say yes to? What should I say no to? Well, anything that allows me to come in and bring that loud Northern boldness, I got to say yes.
Oh, yes. You said, and I'm going to be honest with you, Rumor Corner, one of my friends in Eastern North Carolina called me and he said, you need to have a Rumor Corner for your podcast. So I might as well just bring it up right now. I'm getting calls and people are saying, will you please run? Will you please replace what was put in there? And I know the policy. I love the area, but I haven't officially announced anything. My husband and I are in prayer about it. My husband.
I'll be in prayer for you. I'll be in prayer.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. My husband is the Southern boy. Our internet states I'm a Yankee girl married to a Southern boy. Bottom line. And we are the epitome of the North and the South meeting again. And I just am so grateful for his leadership and his service to this nation. But he also has really imparted that to me being on the campaign trail. So let me go over to Maverick really quickly. Huge fan of Top Gun, was raised on Top Gun. I even said to my dad when I was little, I said, can I be a female pilot? He said, well, they don't really allow them right now. I was like, so? This is back in the 80s, right?
Yeah, I hear no barriers.
Right, I hear no barriers. So, fast forward, Maverick comes out, last year, All-American, let's bring back patriotism like I was talking about. And my husband kept repeating things to me on the campaign trail that was talked about in the movie after the campaign was over. And he says, don't think, just do. And then he says, go get it. So that's basically what I carried with me, of course, my faith, but that is what he imparted to me that whole time on the campaign trail. So, and I'm so honored and thankful for that. So I want to talk about the power behind your Maverick nickname as well, because that is so personal for me because of that. And where did that come from in your music? And how did that really come to be?
Yeah, when I was really making my early career in classical music, that was like 2009, 2008, when things were really starting to take off. And I began to get a little bolder in my musical experimentation. So even in a classical concert hall, I was starting to mix genres a little bit. I was starting to remix. This is where this purpose, the remix came from. I would take Rachmaninoff and remix hip hop sounds and beats and electronics. And it was a risk. But I think even before that, I was simply doing something bold by speaking to audiences, by creating these really creative musical experiences. So other artists were simply coming out, playing the classics and going home. I was coming out, having conversations, or creating these really cool fusions of art, visual art and music. And there was a music critic who had been watching my career, and he dubbed me. He did this list of top 10 Mavericks in classical music, and I was number one. Did not know this guy knew who I was from Adam. He was a Juilliard professor, and we became really well acquainted after that. And I ran with that. And when I started building my speaking career, you're looking for ways to differentiate as a speaker. Well, having the piano was a pretty big differentiator. But at the time, the topics people really wanted to know was differentiation, branding. And so I coined a keynote called How to Move Like a Maverick. And that became sort of a bestseller for me. It skyrocketed my career. And I'm honored today to be one of the top 10 female keynote speakers, in the nation. But I'll tell you what, it's those bold moves, right? Those things that feel like risk. But if you really pay attention, society will tell you what it needs from you, and God will remind you of what you're called to do. And so today there's a boldness that marks anything that I do. And again, I see it as a mandate. It's why the first book is Audacious Prayers, because I felt like we were praying wimpy prayers that did no justice to the huge God that we serve. And so that Maverick label became a nickname, but it also is the way that my company runs. We are always zigging when everyone else is zagging. We make a lot of moves that not everyone agrees with, but they always pay off. And so again, that's searing that track record in. Not everybody's going to give you a thumbs up at the beginning of a thing. But our nation, and we know this from movies like Maverick, like Top Gun. Yeah, we love an underdog. We love a go-getter, and we love it when they rise to the top. So I always tell my team, don't worry. The bandwagon will be full by the time we get done. Right? Just lean in now, and then they'll tell the story, right? But just lean in now, and that's the tricky part. It's easier said than done a lot, but I'll tell you, it's a muscle that you flex over and over, and then you become pretty addicted to it, and then it becomes a way of life.
Yes, no, amen to that. I want to ask you, I love the Audacious Prayer book, and I was going to ask you about that, but you already touched upon it. So I want to also mention to you, I did serve a United States president, and I love the fact that you performed at the White House. And serving at the pleasure of the president is something I took great pride in, and hopefully I will get to do once again. But talk to me about how these opportunities came before you, and what was it like performing at the White House, and knowing, being a lover of history and following the Kennedy administration. Jackie Kennedy was such a proponent of the arts at the White House, hence the Kennedy Center, and bringing in all of the greats coming to perform at the White House before the Kennedy Center was even made. So she led the way for amazing artists like you to come to the White House, to bring art, lifting the good, the true, and the beautiful to this nation. What was that like for you?
My father is a civil rights activist in Charleston, South Carolina. And my mother is in higher education, has always worked in administration and higher education. And so I've always grown up, with just a keen sense of history. And my patriotism may look a little different. It is based on being curious about what more can we do? Have we achieved our highest level of purpose? Is there still more? So, for me, when I went to the White House, as someone who'd always kept my eyes on it, as a little girl, I always thought one day I'm going to be the first female president. So to go to the White House as a pianist and play, I remember and maybe you can speak to this. You go in there, and I don't care where you stand politically. It's almost like the political thoughts go out of your head. And there is this reverence, this awe for what has gone on in these halls. And I don't care if you can't stand the guy that's in office. He was the furthest, whoever was in office at the time is the furthest person from your mind. You don't care if they walk by or anything. There's something about being in there, and you instantly have more respect for whoever is serving, because you go, wow, this completely takes over whoever is in here. This is their life. So you have an honor, respect. And I remember looking at like the China cabinet where you see all the presidents.
The China room.
I'll tell you, it was the thing I remember was the awe. And then a same thing with the Supreme Court. I was there because of an honor I was receiving. And so I think it was Justice Sotomayor at the time was the justice who hosted the event. And so it was the Sphinx organization, which highlights classical musicians of color. And we got to perform there. And again, politics sort of just goes out the door. Is it the same for you? It's like, yes, you're serving at the pleasure, but it's almost like there's such a high calling. And you know, your listeners won't know this because it was so suppressed in the media. But in 2020, I actually ran for president as an independent candidate.
Did you really?
I did. And, you know, I was traveling the nation. And, you know, the most frustrating thing is, Eden, if you don't have your own access to media, it's very hard to through that noise. And you realize all these things, Fair Information Act, Fair Coverage Act, please, they are
out the
window. I mean, there wasn't a major network or producer that didn't know I was running. That's what was so wild. And I'm saying on both sides of the aisle, Christian media, Black media, it didn't matter. It's very hard to break through that. But my point is, when I was running, that same awe kind of comes over you. When you meet people, I don't care if they have a MAGA hat on or a pride shirt or a, you know, whoever, name your favorite, what's her name? AOC shirt. It doesn't matter. When you meet people, you see them differently. When you imagine, oh my God, I one day might be serving them as a leader. Right. So that's my biggest takeaway, is that reverence. And my hope, as I looking at your name on the screen, you know, this common sense is what I believe we're going into an era of, where people really want more common sense leadership. And I really believe that God is raising people like yourself up on a hill. I'm seeing your name is so much prophecy. Your name in the title, so that we can recreate something that looks like Eden a little bit before we leave this earth. You know, I think it's an exciting time. Those moments will stand out for me, literally because they became instantly apolitical. And they were about an honor, reverence of the possibilities that our nation still holds.
Yes. Amen. Amen to that. Yes. When you walk in, for those who have not experienced the touring of the United States Capitol, who have not experienced the Supreme Court, who have not experienced the Library of Congress or the White House, I really encourage those to take the opportunity to go and do those tours. There is nothing like it. And then you'll fully understand that reverence, that awe of what this nation has been founded on, and how it has remained so true to those values, those principles, those God-fearing principles of what our nation was really built upon. And I mean, the beauty, the architecture, the design behind all of it too. You know, I look back again at Jackie Kennedy. I mean, I studied her through my growing up. I mean, I was not your normal child. And, you know, I look at her and I look at all the books and the designs and how she really recreated the White House to make it the people's house, for people to really understand their history, which I absolutely love. So we are coming up to the end of this powerful segment with you, my friend. I would like to get you back because I have some more surprises in my hopper. I'm not allowed to share yet, but coming up soon. And I'm eager to share those with you and have you back as another guest. But we are doing a summer book reading list here for Common Sense America. And yes, I'd love to put purpose on that list. And if your publicist is willing to send me a couple free copies, I'm going to be doing that. I'm doing that with all of my guests who are coming to Common Sense and getting them active for the summer reading. And then also, I would love to be able to figure out, where can people engage with you, find you, follow you, hear you speak? I think this audience needs that injection of Jade and Maverick in their systems.
We're so excited. Our audacious goal is that 1 billion people at least uncover purpose, because we believe purpose-based people have powerful solutions locked in them. So imagine 1 billion more solutions. I believe there are cures to illnesses, cures to issues locked up in individuals. And so that's our hope. You can find out more at jadesimmons.com. You can get the book there, get the book on Amazon. And you can follow me, especially on Instagram. I'm at official Jade Simmons, but I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the things. But I play around a lot on Instagram. I love to be there. And very soon we're kicking off. We're redefining hot girl summer, Eden. We're talking about what it looks like to have fiery transformation where your relationship with God is concerned. And that's going to have a really heavy bent on purpose and identity, which we could do a whole other show on.
Oh, let's do that.
And courage as well. So we're excited. Go to jadesimmons.com and you'll find out more about everything that we have coming up. If you're in Texas, I'll be touring Texas before the fall is out. So I'm excited for that.
Okay. Well, we have a lot of great things happening offline and here at Common Sense America for the fall. So I would love to bring you back before the summer's end to talk about identity. I think that is a huge thing at the very forefront of our culture wars. So let's talk about that. And then I want to include you in some of the big things that are coming down the pike in the fall. So I can't wait. I'll be reading.
Consider yourself collected, Eden. You have no choice in the matter.
Oh, well, Jade Simmons, thank you so much for blessing Common Sense America today. Thank you for all that you do for women like us and just leading the way in the Esther moment for such a time as this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, my friend. I'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And for all of those who are tuning in here at Common Sense America, another powerful episode with Jade Simmons, concert pianist, nicknamed classical music's #1 Maverick. She performed at the White House and the U.S. Supreme Court. She will be in Texas this summer. You can follow her at jadesimmons.com. Follow her on Instagram. She was messaging with me last night on Instagram, so she is there. Facebook, Twitter, you name it, LinkedIn. She is all over the place. Also, make sure you pick up the book Purpose. We will be getting a couple free copies. Message me here, Common Sense America, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all of the social channels. And if you are interested in a free copy, we'll see what we can do about that. So we are going to be wrapping this beautiful Friday morning here at Common Sense America from Chester County, Pennsylvania. Don't forget, save the date all next week, with the exception of Tuesday. I'll be driving back to Eastern North Carolina on Tuesday. We have all new guests all next week. And Friday, save the date. Grab your cup of coffee, your sweet tea, your lemonade, your drink of choice. We're going to be sitting around the kitchen table with Lane Lawson Craft. We're going to be talking about issues of the day. It's going to be a kitchen table Friday discussion. We're going to keep doing this throughout the summer. We have so many different great things happening this summer, but we also are, summer is meant for relaxation, some rest, restoration, vacation with family, time to reflect and get ready for the fall. So there's so many different things we'll be talking about in those Friday conversations. And also all about pride in America. What do you love about this great country? And let's talk about that. So we'll be also featuring some Pride in America segments, talking about our amazing veterans, talking about our active duty, talking about our military spouses. You guys know I'm passionate about that. So I'm looking to see if we have anything else. Nope, we are good. So you know what I always say at the end of every segment, be strong, be courageous, put on those running shoes. You got a journey, and it's not about the destination. It's about how we get there on the journey. Let's hustle, but let's also do it with purpose. As Jade said, we have a purpose. You were put here on this earth with a purpose for such a time as this. So don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Common Sense America with Eden Hill. And until then, you guys have a blessed weekend. I'll see you guys soon.